thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me about the film today. I really enjoyed it. So big congrats on the film.
Thank you.
So for those of our audience and our readers who may not be familiar with some of your work, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your history in the industry?
Yes. I'm born and raised in Denmark. My dad is Russian, and I came to America when I was 16, went to school, and I've been doing since then. I sang in a rock band. I have been doing a lot of like commercial works, TV stuff, and a lot of action movies, video games, from Call of Duty. Play Battery to, I just did a new one that's coming out that I haven't talked about, called The Crew. That's about motorcycles and cars, and I'm the first time they're putting like a character in, called Kika. So I play like this. I'm the main character in the game, so that's gonna come out. So yeah, so I do a lot of like action, like badass kind of characters. You might have seen me in lots of commercials and print ads, and I do a lot. Yes,
Yeah.
Comic-Cons. I love Comic-Cons. I do a lot of Comic-Cons too.
Yeah. A lot of actors do love a good convention. You can definitely you can mix with so many like-minded people, not only in the industry but obviously fans of your work as well. So
Exactly.
it's a real community feeling. It's kind of transcended that initial stigma, and it's just for people who are fans of anything. It could be a fan of just of a book or a movie or a personality. It's not it's not just kind of one single thing now. So I wanted to ask a little bit more about you as an actor and the acting side of things. What or who really inspired you to venture into this crazy industry?
It's one of those things. I always knew I was going to do it. The first time I was on stage, I was 4 years old. My grandmother is a Russian gypsy singer performer, and I went up there to give her flowers at the end of her show. And I remember giving her flowers and everyone was clapping, and I had to like do a little curtsy or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, this is where it's at. And then I just, my grandparents were performers. My dad is a professor at the Danish Film School. So I was shoved into student films, before I could walk, I think. And he was a photographer. So I've just been doing it my whole life. It was never a question. It's just always been who I am. I've always been a performer.
Oh, fantastic. So it's really been sort of ingrained in your DNA, really, from the get-go.
Yeah, I never really, and I don't really have other talents.
I'm sure you do.
You'd be surprised.
Well, that's fantastic. I love hearing about, it's great hearing stories about people that sort of came into it at various points in their life, but to see someone literally from the moment you say go, it's kind of always been there, at least in some capacity. So moving on to Hell Hath No Fury, this isn't the first time you've worked with the director, Jesse Johnson. How was it getting to work with him again, especially as the starring role in this film, the leading badass lady?
Well, it's been a long time dream of mine. I've always been one of those go-getters, and when I first came here to LA, I went to school in New York, and then I came here and I got a manager, and my manager was showing me some of he represented Jesse Johnson, and I saw a movie of his called Charlie Valentine that he did, one of his earlier movies, and I was like, I want to work with him. So I got my manager to set up a meeting with him, and then we ended up doing Wonder Woman together. And then there just wasn't anything really for us to work on. But and then when he did Hell Hath No Fury, I read the script. They had someone else attached, and I had to fight for it, But I always knew, he was on my vision board. Jesse Johnson was on my vision board of someone to work with. So and I'm one of those, when I want something, I am patient, and I go for it, because I just always in my gut, I just had this feeling. I just had this feeling because I'm a history buff. He's a history buff. He likes those like kind of strong action movies. I like them. you know, but he always had guys in them, you know, all the cool parts were always the guys. So when I read that script, I was like, I must, you know, I must do it.
Absolutely. And it's such, I think what we can say about the film is that it's kind of, at its forefront, it's an interesting character piece with human nature really taking the forefront, and with the war just kind of as a background setting. And obviously there's you know, inspired by true events, and obviously the way that French women were treated after, you know, some of them sleeping with the enemy, as they called it, but also, you know, doing what your character Marie does, and, you know, having kind of her own motives, but also trying to fight the good fight. And I think that having that human nature at its core is what set it apart from a lot of other war films. So was that kind of the thing that really sort of stood out to you about the script? I know you said obviously you fought for the role, but was the way that the story was approached, as opposed to you know, some of the other war films, was that what really stood out to you?
Yeah, it's exactly what you were saying, because it was a character piece. To me, it was a character piece, you know, that happens to happen in World War II, you know, but it was about the characters, and that it was the character that made me go crazy because of her, you know, her complexity. She was so different from me. She was a challenge. And I just never played anything like it. And I like anything challenging. And she was very challenging. And I just felt her so deeply. Like I read it and I just, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if you've ever been so in love that it almost hurts. You know what I mean? It was just like, I read it and I was like, I must have, it's like I can't breathe. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I must, you know what I mean? And then I had to be like cool and be like, yeah, no, it's cool. The script is cool. I like her a lot. Yeah, no, I would,
I'd be interested.
I
You
would
know,
totally
just,
do it. I mean, yeah, I'll audition. No problem, you know, and he's going to throw something together and, and inside I'm like, ah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's such, as we touched upon, you know, that the human nature is so important, and also such a rarity, as I said, in war films, but also telling, you know, the true events of what happened to the French women. It's so interesting to tell these stories, because for me, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a history buff, but I, you know, studied at school and everything like that. So I know, you know bits about the history of war. But for me, you know, finding out more about, you know, what French women went through was really interesting. I felt like I learned a lot through the film as well, which I don't normally get watching war films, because you see the classic war films and some of them are, you know, they are called classics for a reason, but they a lot of them feel the same. You know, it's just two sides fighting. There's the good guys and the bad guys, and the good guys win, and everybody goes home. You know, that's pretty much it. So this one definitely stands apart, and also the fact that it's primarily shot in one location, which I really like it when films do this, and it's not just a cheap budget thing. I think it's always interesting to take a spot, even though, you know, you're out in the open, it's primarily in the cemetery, but as the film goes on and the human interaction, the kind of the triangle of greed continues to cycle on, everything feels more tense and claustrophobic, even though you were literally just out in a cemetery, which I think is quite rare and special. So did you feel the same level of tension building throughout the shoots, as it was primarily on one location? And also, I'd love to know, was it shot in order, or as close to order as possible, to help you sort of grow into the story, or was it shot out of order, as most films usually are?
Oh, they're great questions. When I booked it, I was very adamant about because of time. I didn't have a lot of time to prep, and we didn't have a lot of time to shoot. So I was very adamant about the only way that I can do this is if we do it in chronological order. And thank God Jesse did that. Otherwise I couldn't have done it, because I had to deteriorate with her, if that makes any sense. You know,
Yeah.
she was, you know, in the beginning, you know, she's seducing von Bruckner, and then as the movie, I had to do it. You know, I couldn't have done it if, I mean, I could have, but it would have been very difficult, you know, as I grew with her as the movie was growing. You know, as the movie was progressing, I was progressing as the character as well. So it really helped. I mean, really, really, really helped. And as I said too, because I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, it really helped me. As I got more confident in Marie, so did she. You know what I mean, who she was. So it all kind of went hand in hand, you know. And even for the physical aspect, you know, I wanted her, you know, I had to lose weight really fast, and from going, you know, from when we started the cemetery, and I wanted her as she got stronger, I would train like crazy on set. I would bring my resistant bands, and I'll be in the cemetery doing push-ups like crazy, and everyone is looking at me because I wanted her to just a little bit, as she grew, I wanted her to grow as well physically. You know what I mean? So like all of those little nuances that you probably don't see, but you might feel it in her performance, you know, because I'm you know, attention to detail crazy person when it comes to my work, especially in movies like that. Like you don't see a lot of the stuff, but you will feel it, you know.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head. Obviously, it helped you as a performer to get into the role, but I think that it definitely helps it come across on screen. Obviously, I know that with filmmaking, you do have to shoot stuff out of order for time constraints and budgetary reasons, but the films that are shot in chronological order really do, the performances and the story is really heightened by that. I'm big into horror, so films like Autopsy of Jane Doe, I know was shot in order, and that again sort of tension building on a different scale, because it is a horror, not a you know, a character driven action film. But that same process of building tension definitely does come across because of how it was shot. And obviously, you know, with the fact of characters crawling through dirt and getting shot up, obviously that helps with the, you know, the practical effects and everything. And speaking of that, it's very brutal in parts, which I love. How much fun was it getting to work with practical effects and stunts? I'm guessing that was really high on Jesse's list, considering, you know, he's worked in that side of the industry for many years.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, but it was very different for me because I'm normally the one throwing the punches and doing the kicking. You know what I mean? And I was the victim here, you know. I was the one that was taking all of the abuse. So it was a little bit different. But the way Jesse works is very realistic. So I loved, you know, makeup would come to do the dirt, and I was like, if we're in a cemetery, just use the freaking dirt. You know what I mean? Like we got to work with the elements. And normally in situations like that, you wear stunt pads on your elbows, your knees. But because of my outfit, you know, most of the bruises you see on me and scratches and scars and, you know, blood was real because I couldn't wear any stunt pads. I couldn't wear any protection. You know, when I get tackled, you know, and the bruises and the blood is real. So, so as you know, as I said, as Marie, you know, got stronger and deteriorated and got bruised up, so did I, you know, so
extra layer of performance there.
Yes, it totally, totally. When I was done, I mean, I just looked at my body and it was just like, I was like, wow. You know?
Took you 6 months to recover.
It did. I mean, mentally and physically, it was like, it was a brutal shoot, but incredible.
Was it quite a short turnaround on the shoot? Obviously, you said you didn't have a lot of time to prepare. Was it like a couple of weeks or even shorter than that?
Yes. Because of budget constraints and because of COVID, it was a very, very tight set. So we shot it very fast, and a lot faster than we normally would. And it was a very, you know, like my makeup artist was my scripty, you know what I mean? The people had different parts because of COVID, but I loved it because I come from the world of plays where everything is in chronological order and it's tight, small groups. So it felt like a play. And all of the actors that he cast are like me, you know, they're real actors, quote unquote, and they come from the same world as I do. So, I mean, it was a dream come true. I got to play, we got to rehearse, we got to, you know, do our thing as method actors. And it was just amazing to have people that wanted to give themselves, you know, as much as I wanted to, you know, because a lot of times there's always one that's kind of like phoning it in, or, you know, don't want to go all the way, or, you know, but it really felt like a tight family and everyone was on the same page. So it was incredible.
Yeah, great ensemble cast. That definitely did sort of help it out. Absolutely. So obviously the dialogue in the film, there are various languages. Obviously you've got English, French, German. Have you always been able to speak French, or did you have to sort of learn in the very short time that you had to?
I've never spoken French in my life. But I speak 5 languages and I'm a singer, so I pick it up pretty fast. And it's like when someone puts a gun to your head, you'd be shocked how fast you can learn French. You know what I mean? Like I
anything
literally
really with a gun to your head.
Yeah, I literally had to put an imaginary gun to my head, sleep 2 to 3 hours a night. You know, I had to learn French monologues. Like, you know, I never spoken French in my life. And as I said, and with my perfectionistic mind, you know, I maybe went a little overboard, but that's how I do things. So yeah, you'd be shocked, like what you can do with a gun to your head. Like shocked.
Have you like kept up learning French? Is that something that you've kind of pursued since, or is it kind of just
No,
gone,
I was completely terrified and petrified after that experience. I was like, ah. It's difficult. It is really, really difficult. You know, like French is one of my favorite languages. I think it's so beautiful, but yeah, I mean, it still intimidates me. And I thought I did a pretty good job, but you know, to really perfect it, I think I would have to live there. To really do it, I would have to live there. You know, I'm just working on my American accent.
I think that's with most languages, because I remember learning German at school and then changing schools after learning German for like 4 or 5 years, and then only being in a school that's only did French. So I then had to try and learn French after doing German for
How did that go?
Not very well.
It's hard.
Especially trying to say French words, and you just kind of, because you're speaking a foreign language, you just instantly go to the accent that you've been developing over time. So I was saying French stuff in a German accent. So that was
funny.
Yeah. So we've mentioned about this being a very sort of unique take on telling a war story. Do you think that this particular way of telling this story is going to make this film stand out from the rest of, like we said, the rest of the genre? Do you think that's important?
Yeah, I think number one, I don't know another World War II movie with a female lead, you know. And
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah, exactly. And then number two, there has not been another movie about a French resistant fighter and what these women really went through, you know. So I think already there, it's a very unique story that needed to be told, and I'm so glad that Jesse did it. You know, I don't know any other movies that have told it from the French resistant fighters, you know, and they're so interesting, those women, what they had to go through, and it was very common. So I think it's really important that the story is told, because there are so many of those women who did it, that they were unsung heroes.
Absolutely.
You
know? Like I said, you know, I felt like I learned this was kind of like a, you know, a really solid, interesting, character-driven piece, but also I felt like I learned something as well, which you don't normally get. So that was quite cool. Yeah, it's very, very interesting on that part. And throughout the production, obviously we mentioned that, you know, it was very tight and short because of budget and COVID and everything. But what would you say was your favorite part? Quite a big question. What was your favorite part of the whole experience, if you can narrow it down to just one?
My favorite part, but you know, I have to, it was like one particular thing that kept happening throughout the movie that was my favorite part. And that you know, when you do period pieces and you stand there in the outfits and people are wearing, you know, their Hugo Boss designed those Nazi uniforms, and, you know, you're all beat and bruised up. And there was a couple of moments where I was like, wow, this is what it really felt like. This is what Marie really felt like. This is what she was looking at. This is, you know, you look at this handsome von Bruckner and she's in love with him, but he killed her parents, and, you know, she's so conflicted. And, you know, there was a couple of moments where I forgot we were shooting a movie. You know what I mean? I forgot I was Nina. I forgot. And those are the moments I live for. You know what I mean? There was a couple of times at the cemetery, at the grave. I remember when we shot the last scene, that was a pickup shot. And I remember being at the grave, and then she walks out in the very end shot. And I was like, I could truly feel what it felt like. You know what I mean? There's like a couple of times as an actor when you are so there that you can't, you know, kind of like when you're little and you play, you know, play and pretend. Yeah, especially like, and you know, hide and seek, and then you get so scared, like you pee in your pants because you can't tell that it's not real. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it was like for me. There was like those moments where I was like, and it happens rarely in movies because it's so cut up. You know, I get it in plays. You all of a sudden you're living the play, but in movies it's very hard because it's short scenes and it's out of order. But in that movie there were so many moments where I was like, oh my God, I was there. I was really truly there in her body, and I lost myself, and that's what I live for, those moments. And there were like quite a few of them throughout the whole movie where I disappeared into her. So that's what I live for, you know. Awesome. Those moments.
Yeah, I love to hear that. Yeah, that just shows your connection with the writing, because you know, you said earlier about sometimes you're on projects and people, you know, might be phoning it in a little, but at least it felt like everyone worked well together, everyone bounced off each other well, and you, amongst others, really sort of connected with the story and the character that they were portraying. So yeah, again, huge well done on that. So I kind of got one more question to squeeze in, and obviously if you can't say anything, that's obviously fair enough. But could you tell us maybe about some other projects that you're working on that you have coming up? Obviously you mentioned The Crew, but is there anything else you can talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say too much the name and stuff, but I shot a movie in Canada that I finished not too long ago, with Ellen Leach, the guy from Downton Abbey. He's done a lot of phenomenal actor, with a French director. And again, it's written like a play, like a two-people play, and it's based on some true events. And it's one of those, like, I thought I went as deep as I could in Hell Hath No Fury. This one was like, destroyed me, like completely destroyed me. You know, it was the opposite. I had to put on weight. I mean, it was like this character. I was like, oh my God. Like, I literally had some moments where I was like, why are you doing this, Nina? Why? Why are you doing this to yourself? You know,
you got to keep reminding yourself it's for the love. It's for the love.
This is for the love. Yeah, I'm like in Canada, like literally dying. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, that must be something really wrong with you, Nina. But I love it. And again, you know, there's a lot of British people on this one. And yeah, so I have it's you know, you like it, like a thriller horror movie. Drama thriller horror. It's really scary. I find it excruciatingly scary. I mean,
you got to live for it, so
yeah. So I got to live through it, and I didn't have to act at all. I was like scared out of my mind. So this one I'm very excited about. And then what else do I have? I have a commercial right now. I shot 5 spots. It's out. It's worldwide, so it's gonna come to UK soon. Where I play a balls connoisseur. It's for males underwear. It's a very interesting character. I educate men about their balls. So I wear a suit in all the commercials, and all the guys are in underwear. And I will tell you how to you're a gentleman or if you're just a man, and what the difference is and why you go to, you know, I will educate you about how to take care of your manhood. So she's a hilarious character that I created that I'm proud of. These spots are shot in Mexico. They're just really well done. So they're gonna come out. And then I'm shooting one next week. I start next week with Patrick, Kilpatrick action movie, where it's like the usual. I ride motorcycles, I box, I kick ass. Very fun movie. And then after that, I do another one about motorcycles. I play an adrenaline junkie.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah, so I have everything now mapped out pretty tight. So
lots to
yeah,
keep you busy.
life is good. Life is really good right now. You know, my dream is coming true.
I love to see that, because as someone who knows you know, what goes on behind the scenes in the industry, and isn't just, you know, I'm not just a journalist, but I love to see that people are thriving, and that, you know, the global pandemic hasn't slowed people down. If anything, it's got people more passionate about the industry, try new things, try new ways of working, and seeing somebody just enjoying themselves. I think that actors who enjoy themselves, whether or not they are deemed, you know, the big actors, or, you know, whether they win big awards or whatever, I think that actors who are just enjoying what they're doing are 100 times more likely to give real and fun and human performances. So I just love that everything's going great for you, because I just love seeing other people succeed, especially in this very competitive industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's everything that I've got for you. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
No, thank you. These are great questions. You're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No, you're welcome. You're welcome.